guys, welcome to Braving It. And braving it with me today is an amazing and incredible guy who I just got to meet. And his name is Mushambi Mutuma. Did I say that right?
You did.
Good. I don't want to botch any names. So basically, guys, just by way of introduction, Mushambi is the sales and commerce lead at Accenture. He is also a published author and speaker, as well as a tech leader. Interestingly, what I discovered is that you're also a dope black dad.
I am.
You are.
I wear that proudly. Shout out to the guys.
Shout out to the guys. What dabs on them, yeah?
That's it.
Listen, guys, Dope Black Dads is a movement where fathers are stepping into their role of being fathers. They are showing up in different ways, financially, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. They're just showing up. So kudos to the guys for establishing the movement.
Definitely.
Okay, what does Mushambi mean, by the way?
Mushambi. Kushamba is to cleanse, to purify. It's a Shona name.
The Shona name.
Yes.
And then Mushamba would be then the I suppose because Kushamba is to cleanse.
Yes, exactly.
And
so
then
Mushambi is
the
just
one who cleanses.
The one who cleanses.
The one, that's what I'm looking for.
The pressure.
The one. That's the pressure.
You know?
Do you wear the name well?
I hope so. It's my grandfather's name. I'm actually Mushambi the third. My son is Mushambi the fourth.
Beautiful.
But yeah, I hope we do. I hope we make them proud.
Nice. Okay. All right. So we're going to jump straight into it because these episodes, in particular, season 3 episodes, are about braving it in 15 minutes.
Nice.
And the point is, I'm trying to give everyone who's watching just nuggets, insights, things that they can take with them to 2023. You know, just as they brave the next chapter of their lives. What are those nuggets that they can take from these different interviews? So the shorter the better, because in that way they remember key points.
That's it.
All right.
Nice one.
So, Mushambi, you were in business for a little over a decade. I've watched those clips. You speak very fondly of your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
And then now you are a full-time employee at Accenture.
Yeah.
Brother, what happened?
Everybody asks this, hey? I think I've gone backwards. I think a lot of people leave corporate and go into business. But we sold our business at the end of 2019 and then closed out the other part of the business in early 2020. So I took some time off post the acquisition. I was doing some consulting, advising some other businesses that we had shareholding in, and a mentor of mine gave me a call, and he's the lead at Accenture Song, and he says, "Aren't you bored? Don't you want a new challenge?" And I hadn't been in corporate ever, and I was excited about the scale and the technology that the guys at Accenture were using, so I said, let me give it a try, and I've been there just over a year now.
Beautiful. So it wasn't that, I'm trying to gauge the health of the business at the time. You know?
I mean,
so it wasn't frustration that led you to this decision.
No, I mean, things obviously changed when COVID hit, and that's why we closed down one part of the business. But yeah, I think it was time. I've been doing that business for 13 years. I was physically also exhausted. I was trying to do something a little bit different. So that bug still sits in me, and we'll see what next year holds.
Okay. And how is it like getting into an environment where you are being told what to do, when to do it, how to do it? How is that?
You know, I've never had this many bosses, aside from my kids and my wife. So it's been different. But I think, thankfully, that the team at Accenture, they've been very patient with me and accommodating of my entrepreneurial nature and the way we push. So thankfully, the environment that I operate in, the business unit that I lead, we've got a lot of flexibility, and when we've had some success. So I think, aside of getting used to the corporate admin and politics, I think it's been a great journey.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so there's a term that you speak, you know, very fondly of. And I saw it in one of your clips. You do a lot of YouTube clips. And this term, I'm gonna try. Demonstrazione. Demonstrazione. Which was popularized by Leonardo da Vinci. And it's about exercising failure through demonstration.
That's it.
So I'm gonna ask you, what has been what would you deem your biggest failure yet? And how did you go through that period? Because we go through it.
No, certainly. I think that, I mean, demonstrazione, it's a hard word to kind of put into practice. Conceptually, it sounds nice to, you know, demonstrate and fail and get back up. But I think, when you're going through failure, it's always painful. It's never nice. But I enjoy it because of the learning. So I think, you know, shutting down businesses in the past, losing lots of money, losing employees has always been the most painful part of the journey as you kind of go up and down. And I think that's because you build relationships and you have a team and their family, especially in a small business. And those parts of the career have always been the most difficult. But I think what it does for you is teaches you how to be a better leader, right? And teaches you how to manage things over time. So I certainly wouldn't be where I am now without those failures. And I think that's the crux of Dimostrazione, is that in order to kind of have, you know, as many patents and inventions as Da Vinci had, he had to go through thousands of failures in order to kind of be who we now know him for, as this polymath and great mind. And so I try to view it the same way, is that failure while you're going through it is horrible, but I try to eat lots of it because I know what's gonna bring out down the line.
You know the results it will
yield.
Yield.
Eventually, right? Yeah.
And then again, because I'm a stalker, right? So
it's okay. You're well researched.
Watched another well researched.
There you go. Yeah.
So in another clip that I saw, you mentioned that we don't need any more people who are going to be asking for funding and who are going to be chasing those quick wins. What kind of people do we need? If we're not going after funding, chasing wins, you know, what do we then pursue?
Sure. It was an unpopular opinion at the time, because I was responding to kind of I think as particularly South African entrepreneurs, a lot of us are kind of waiting for something. We're waiting for someone to give us a check or an opportunity. But the reality is that even though funding is on a rise and like we've never seen before, less than like 0.5% of businesses get funding, right? So if you're waiting for that to start your business or to scale your business, it's not coming, right? And I think what people need to learn is that funding is for scale. It's not to start. Right? I can give you 10 million Rand tomorrow, but if you don't know what to do with it, it means nothing, right? Versus if you already had plans, you've already built a business and you want to scale to that next level and hire 50 more people or launch a bigger product or hit a new market, then you know what to do with it. But getting money to start doesn't exist, particularly in our environment. Other parts of the world, sure, but that bubble also is imploding quite a bit. So I think that for me, I'd rather we build business leaders, right? And business owners. Sometimes we can get too caught up in the entrepreneurial side of just like starting and just being about ideas and not about building something sustainable, right? Something that can hire people, can employ people. And then down the line, hopefully, we all want to get a bigger check and want to be able to scale. But to use it to start, it just doesn't exist. So why chase it?
And on that notion, then you talk about, you know, the fact that there's just this breed or this new wave of wantreprenuers, you know, as opposed to entrepreneurs. So would that be the classic example of a wantrepreneur, someone who is in waiting? That's
it, because I think that, you know, fortunately, before I had all these gray hairs, Instagram didn't exist in the same manner that it did when I was coming up. It didn't exist at all when we first started. And so I wasn't comparing myself to anybody. And sure, there's a wealth of information that exists with social media and content and platforms like this now, but I didn't have to compare myself and say, all right, this guy's just got a Bentley, what must I do now? You know, you could just grow and not have that pressure. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of kids and young people have a lot of pressure right now because they're comparing themselves with the highlights that they see of everybody else. And they want those things. And it's great to want and desire some things, but I think you got to build a sustainable business first. Then that can lead to some growth. Then that can lead to the first class flights and a nice life and some softness. But it doesn't come off at the beginning.
Because I hang out with a lot of young people. You know, I try to do my part. I try to play my part. But sure, there is this insurmountable pressure for them to win now. you know, to deliver now, to be seen and heard now. That's hard.
It is, and I think the thing is, there's so many highlights that exist right now, and people aren't being honest online about the difficult moments, right? And the struggles and what it leads to get to those highlight reels. That's not showcased, right? Nobody does that. I certainly don't do that. I don't talk about all my most difficult moments online.
I'm starting to.
And it's great, and I think, you know, I'm calling myself out because you should do it more. But it's not our nature, right? We want that version of ourselves to be the most beautiful, to be the most put together, to be the wisest, right? So it is incredibly painful and difficult for people. So I certainly sympathize, and I know it.
Don't you know it? Who in your mind then would be, in your mind, who is the most, or not the most, but who would you say is a successful entrepreneur, a young successful entrepreneur, not a wantrepreneur, but an entrepreneur who you greatly admire in this country? Yeah,
no, definitely. We want to keep it African. You know, it's a good friend of mine, Theo Baloy from Bachi.
Oh, of course, but
Theo is.
Are you wearing?
I'm not.
I'm just checking. I just want to see something.
Not today, but I think Theo is an incredible entrepreneur. And he's scaling like rapidly, literally weekly. I'm like, my guy, I can't keep saying congrats on a new store because there's just too many.
It's a lot.
You know, I'll hit you with the big milestones, you know. I think 50 is coming quite soon.
Sure.
So I think for me, because he's built it one man, and he's built it, and he owns every part of his value chain so successfully, from manufacturing to the retail space to the logistics side. He's really approached it incredibly with a lot of incredible wisdom, and I value him, and I know what his bigger picture is, and I think that we're going to see a lot more out of him. But I love it because he's a very young guy. He's a local story. He hasn't chased funding. He's just built a business. And it's a proof case for if you just stick into it and you build it and you try to control all the elements, that you'll get there. The first couple of years rough, but thereafter, he's had a lot of success and been able to really take it on. So Theo, shout out, but amazing entrepreneur, an amazing person.
All right, you very clearly are an eloquent speaker. It's very clear. So based on the clips that I saw, and obviously meeting you now in person, very eloquent, very confident, and also very insightful in your particular arena. When you are asked to come and speak publicly, we all get nervous. I'm a speaker myself, public speaker myself. We all get nervous. That's just the amygdala part of our brain that makes sure that we're able to, run if we need to run.
That's it.
But do you still get insanely nervous? And how do you tame your anxiety as you're about to deliver? I ask this question because I know a lot of people who are wanting to assume bigger roles. And the bigger roles come with the ability to speak and be heard and be clear, So tell me about your experience.
No, it's a great question, and I mean, I speak. That's what I do. It's a big side hustle of mine, and been able to build a great brand over the years. But I still do get nervous, whether it's 10 people or 20 people or a couple of hundred or 1,000. I get nervous every time, every single time, even though I've been doing it for so long. And it's just imposter syndrome, right? You get up there and you wonder, do I really know what I'm talking about? Surely these people in this audience are smarter than me, especially when you're speaking to C-suite executives and business leaders. I'm speaking to a group of CEOs from a bunch of African banks in early January, and you think, like, surely all these CEOs are gonna know more than me, right? But then, what calms me down every single time is, firstly, you just gotta act like you've been there before, right? And step into some confidence a little bit. But then the second thing is, no one knows what you know better than you, right? And not just from an intelligence standpoint, but from your perspective and your experience, right? And your take, even if it is based on knowledge, right? On market trends, your take is yours. It's as unique as your fingerprint. And when you can own that, then you step on stage with complete confidence. You know, Jay-Z said, like, I love it that I walk into every room and I'm myself. I don't act like anybody else. And when you can do that on stage, and don't get on stage and try to be Mushambi or Vusi or whoever it might be, and you just get on stage and own yourself, you'll always win. And I think that's what's led to, you know, a pretty successful speaking career, thankfully, is that I just get up there and I'm myself, unashamedly, and that gives me a lot of confidence because I don't have to fake the funk. I just have to be me. And obviously the first joke, if it lands well, that also helps get the pressure off, you know?
Yeah. Have you ever, as a follow-up question to that, have you ever been on stage, have had everything prepared, but nothing comes to mind? Like you just draw blank. Is that ever happened?
Not that, but I've been on stage before where nothing works, right? The slides don't work, the presentation doesn't work. But then people paid, right? Or people paid you and they still expect. And one of the worst experiences, about 500 people and nothing worked. And the tech guy is busy running, trying to figure things out, and they're waiting for me. They've got a program. And I thought I bombed, hey. I just went through it, I winged it. I just tried to remember what was in my slides and I winged it, and I got off stage and I walked straight to the back and I thought, let me just leave. It was horrible. My assistant at the time, he left. He was just like,
oh my gosh.
And after a moment, there was a queue of like 30 people that wanted to talk to me because they were amazed and they wanted to learn more. And it was actually so successful. And I thought, you know, I crashed and burned. So that's why you got to own it and step into that confidence and know what you're talking about, right? Because slides or not, you have to know what you have to know your story and be able to have a decent point of view and some expertise that you can teach people. And then it always works out.
What is the biggest thing you are currently braving at the moment?
Sure. So I think the biggest thing that I'm braving right now is balance. You know, with a young family, with a very busy career, with speaking and traveling, I'm just trying to figure out how to manage everything successfully without losing myself completely is the biggest struggle on a daily basis. Of just trying to be healthy but show up for everybody. But I think there what I'm learning is that I have to put myself first sometimes and make sure I'm healthy and I'm strong. And when that happens, everyone else benefits. But it's always a challenge. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Must we end so soon? I genuinely really enjoyed this episode. It really fell short because I think there's just so much more that I want to learn. And I'll tell you what, maybe we'll do a coffee after this. Sorry guys, but we'll do a coffee.
Definitely.
And continue this conversation. I hope you have a bit of time. Yeah. But guys, thank you for watching, and thank you for honoring this appointment and for honoring the time to impart all of your wisdom and knowledge. So appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
There you go, guys. Like, subscribe, comment on this particular episode. Let us know what you enjoyed most, because maybe these are things that we can double click on and then just expand on further going forward. But thank you for watching.